mean, in the New Testament, Jesus did a lot of miracles, of course, but Elijah did miracles. There are miracle workers also in the Old Testament. That was a discovery. We had a lot of discovery, a lot of revelation, things we did not know. Very, very exciting process. As much as it, you know, it has an audience, the book really was for us to teach us too. I mean, it was a very internal, organic process as well. And we have a chapter about Mary being, initiating, for example, Jesus' ministry. And I was thinking about today, we should have renamed it Mary Didn't Flinch.
Yeah. Because
Jesus got pretty, he said, you know, woman, he called her woman, why do you, she wanted him, they were running out of wine at the wedding in Cana. And Mary's like, Jesus can turn water into wine and he can perform this miracle. And she went to him and Jesus responded, you know, woman, my time has not come. And Mary didn't flinch because she sort of helped initiate Jesus's ministry from that. And she didn't flinch, and we just went on and on and on about how powerful and impactful his mother was in the initiation of his ministry.
Yeah, and those examples, and I'll tell you what else happened is that if you're ever in a spot where you're in a job you don't like, or you're in a town you shouldn't be in, I didn't realize the rejection. You know, I always celebrate what happened with Jesus' life, but I didn't realize the rejection, you know, and spending time in his hometown and realizing the rejection he went through is why we can't go back home sometimes. So I think it also taught me if it's time to move on, it's time to move on. If it's time to move, it's time to move. And if somebody's holding you back in any place in your life, it's time to move on. So I realized that for seeing his rejection, that I also had my own, you know, feelings toward Louisville, my childhood home. You always had certain feelings about how you grew up. And I think it's important that we put the baggage behind ourselves and move on to a bigger place. So I think I learned that as well, which is kind of interesting about his rejection.
Yes, talk about Joseph. Joseph just does not have a lot of coverage in the Bible, and Joe visited the obviously the grotto where Joseph was a carpenter, and they lived, and he just impacted you so much.
Yeah, you know, I'm actually, my name is Joseph, named after Joseph originally, but I think also, you know, sometimes in the Bible, a character can have 5 or 10 lines, or in the case of Joseph, he has no direct quotes, but you start looking at how he protected his family, how he raised his family, what his role in society was as a leader, and yet he's that humble person we don't notice because there's no miracles. It was just great work every day. And so I also think today, it kind of made me realize that if every father was like Joseph, we haven't cited today. So we renamed it something else today. You know, it can be, you know, great parenting, but in general, if they did it like Joseph and the protection he gave his family and the wisdom he gave him, and when he had to let go, he let go, which is really something hard for parents and hard for all of us.
And he protected, you know, he protected when Jesus' life was in danger. He protected the family. He protected Mary. He was amazing. The other thing we just really struck me was Peter being the head of the Catholic Church, and he was a great family man. And he took care of his family, and he took care of his mom, and he was a great family man. And that was just, and we were talking about the fact that priests, of course, do not have families, do not marry. And so there's a time when, just talk about the fact that when you didn't have pants on and you couldn't, and you had to borrow fathers.
Yeah, we were in the Holy Land, and I was really getting this bond with Peter that I didn't have before, meaning just, you know, because you started getting close to these mythical characters, and you realize they're just living their life like you. They're trying to make payroll, catch enough fish for dinner, trying to get to Passover. There's ordinary people that have some discernment going on. And in Peter's case, you know, Jesus kind of goes to his house originally, and Peter's living with his brother. You know, the brother's there, the mom's living in the house. These are small houses. They're actually below ground like caves. And we go to Peter's house, and you realize, gosh, you know what? It's so small, but Peter had his mother-in-law in the house. You know, he had his brother in the house, raised his family. And you realize that there was a whole family framework there that's part of the Christian community, part of the Jewish community. So this whole thing about family and what makes a community, I saw family just intertwined and embedded in everything. So you see this, you know, walk away and give it all up and walk down the beach. That's true at the same time. If a person's leading their family the right way, there's great work in that God's happy with. So I think the spirit of family was a big thing we saw there.
Yes.